GST and its impact on HR has a dimension in terms of how it's going to impact specific aspects of the employer-employee relationship. So after my video on GST and its impact on HR, which has crossed 5,000 views, I thought I'll get into some specific dimensions of the employment contract so that people can have a clear idea of how to structure employment contracts. So this is Anurag Singhal. So I on this channel share the little that I know, and I would urge you to follow me by subscribing to this channel. So it's kind of encouragement. Every day when I wake up in the morning, I see how many new people have subscribed to my channel. So Schedule 3 of the CGST Act deals with activities or transactions that shall not be treated as supply. And one of the entries specific that services which are employed by So GST has some specific dimensions as far as the employer-employee relationship is concerned. I thought I'll create this video because the earlier one on GST and its impact on HR crossed 5,000 views. So that's a lot of encouragement for any budding YouTube creator. So Anurag on this channel shares a little that you know. Please subscribe, the usual thing. So as far as the Act is concerned, Schedule 3 of the CGST Act specifically exempts the services which are provided by an employee to the employer in the course of or in relationship to his employment as outside the purview of the word supply, and hence no GST. But then, so I have a software engineer who also doubles up at a DJ at weekends. So the GST law brings in entry 2 in Schedule 1, says that supply of goods or services made without a consideration between related parties in course of the business will be taxable, and employer and employee are always related parties. So hence, let's say there is a supply from the employer to the employee of gift up to 50,000 rupees, it will not attract GST. After 50,000 uspe GST lagega. In some cases there are other supplies which are made by employer to employee. They may or may not qualify as supply, depends. And sometimes there is a supply from employee to employer. The same will not be treated as supply provided the same is in the course of employment. But let's say someone is acting as a DJ over a weekend party. His core job is that of a software engineer, and hence it will be liable to GST. And how does one broad framework to understand whether it's liable to GST or not? सबसे पहले ये देखना है कि क्या वो फैसिलिटी सब एम्प्लॉइज को कॉमन मिल रही है. So it's not that it is earmarked only for job band 6 and above, or it's earmarked only for specific employees. So for example, free tea, free coffee, it's available for everyone. So it's not liable to GST. If it's a facility which is provided for official usage, for example, a laptop, a parking, no GST. If it's a reimbursement for a mobile bill, it's not a supply per se, because again, it's the course in the course of discharge of your duties. So no GST. And any other supplies by the employer which is not in the course of employment needs to be analyzed on a case-to-case basis to determine applicability of GST. And the moment such transactions fall within the ambit of GST, how does one value it? One, it is open market value. Very clear. So for example, Raymond's will set up a shop within its premises and give its shirts at a discounted rate. Then how does one value that perquisite? It will be the full value in money for supply of goods at the same time of transaction between two unrelated parties where price is a sole consideration. So the price at which Raymond would have sold the shirt to an outsider, that and the difference between the price which is recovering from its employee will be the amount which is chargeable to GST. Or so for example, otherwise it's open market value, or otherwise like quantity, like quality, same functional components, something like that, or cost plus basis. In case there is a no open market value, then you can say that the company has spent 100 rupees to acquire that. It will add a markup of 10% and 110 will be the value of supply. And then residual method will be as per section 15 of the GST Act and valuation rules. Let's look at specific transactions, both medical insurance for employees and personal accident insurance. So what happens is that the company will offer free medical insurance to its employees, does not recover anything on account of that. So for example, a group mediclaim. This is part of the employment contract, and there is no GST liability because there is no supply by the company to its employees. The agreements should clearly mention that the company is only making payments on behalf of the employees. Will it get credit? No, because the supply is from the insurance company to the employee. It's not the supply to the company. Hence, no credit. Similarly, for personal accident insurance, company is not recovering any amount from the employees, but it's making this payment on behalf of the employees. So no GST supply, because the contract is between New India Insurance and my employee. So in case anything happens to the employee, New India Insurance will give 10 lakh rupees to the employee's family. Where is the company in the picture? Nothing except making payments. So no GST and no credit. As far as free or subsidized cab facility is concerned, let's say pick up and drop from home or office, then if it is not covered in employment contract, the GST liability will arise because the transaction will be treated as, let's say TCS is offering or HSBC is offering a pickup facility from home to the employee. Then it will be treated as a supply and they are related party, and hence GST will have to be computed as per the open market value. So on a cost per kilometer basis, on a cost per hour basis. However, you can actually structure the contract with the supplier such that the invoice will be raised on the company for recovery of the amount, but the services are provided by the cab company directly to the employee. Then the GST liability will not arise. In case it's not covered in the employment contract, consider the same as part of the employment contract, and hence it's part of the company's contractual obligation. Thus, no GST liability. You will get an input credit. Ideally, you should, because in case it's part of my obligation to my employee that I make the employee work late in the night and hence I am providing the cab. So fine. But then the tax rate of 5% on rent a cab service is applicable with the condition that there is no input credit which is allowable. However, suppose you are using this service to make an outward supply of the same goods and services, then only you can get this credit. So that's the bit on this. As far as mobile handsets which are given to employees, the company is providing this to the employee for official use. Let's say an employee gets a BlackBerry from the company. There will be no GST liability because these benefits are extended for official use or purpose. The company will also be able to take GST credit on the mobile purchase because it is using it in the course of business. Now what about this monthly bill where the phone entitlement is given to the employee? Then you claim reimbursement basis your eligibility criteria. No GST liability because again it is a supply, not supply as in this is something that the employee is doing in the course of the business. There is no supply per se. Not applicable therefore, since the invoice will not be in the name of the company. So the mobile bill will be in the name of the specific employee. He is only claiming a reimbursement. Relocation expenses, so you are getting transferred from Bhubaneswar to Kolkata. There will be no GST liability because it's part of the official scheme of things. The taxes which are paid on the travel or relocation expenses are likely to be available as credit because such services are used in the furtherance of business. Process may be defined by the company to claiming credit. So for example, Agarwal Movers and Packers, it should be told to give an invoice in the name of the company so that the company can get the credit. That will be a huge amount and hence the HR function will have to accordingly make rules in this regard. So for example, the company provides transit accommodation. First 2 weeks of joining will be in the company's guest house. It's no GST liability because it's for part of official use. So, and the company will not get any input credit also because it's who is using that service, the employee for his personal consumption. He's staying or his family is staying, so there will be no credit. What if there is an ID card which is lost or a laptop which is lost and the company recovers it through the deduction? Then it will be treated as a recovery of liquidated damages and no GST will come on this. As far as, let's say, company after 4 years allows the employee to take home the laptop which he or she is using at a free cost or at a subsidized value, then such transaction should be treated as supply and hence it is liable to GST. And what will be the benchmark for that? It will be treated as open market value, as if what would have been the price of such a laptop in the market, that will be the determinant, and question of input credit does not arise. In case a gift is given on a Diwali, farewell, t-shirt, what will happen? There are two things. One, there is this 50,000 rupees per annum limit. Up to that limit, there is no tax. But suppose you are giving a single gift which is exceeding 50,000. Let's say you are giving a single gift of 55,000 rupees, iPhone 7s to your employee. Then GST should be applicable on the entire 55,000. But suppose if you are giving 5,000 rupees per month of gift to some employee, the first 10 months there is no GST. The 11th and the 12th month only will, the differential amount will be one which attracts GST. Gifts to companies, so therefore should track the gifts in course of some Excel or something. And in case you have availed input credit, you have to reverse such a credit. So for example, if you have purchased some pens, like for example that costly pen, what is that, what's called crossword pen, so that cross pen, yeah. So cross pen, if you have bought, you have taken a credit and then you have given it on a gift to the employee, then you have to reverse the credit which you have taken on that pen. In case a company is giving a car to the employee, both for personal and official purpose, but the asset remains capitalized in the books of the company, no GST liability because it's part of the employment contract. Therefore, no credit should be available also on the GST paid. Car lease scheme, company is obtaining on a financial lease a car from a dealer and giving it to the employee. The car is recorded as an asset in the company's book. It is just like a loan which is company's taken. So amount equivalent to car entitlement is reduced on the basic salary, and notional amount as per the income tax rules is added to the employees as a perquisite. No GST liability because again it's in the course of the business, and therefore the employment contract should clearly substantiate the same. So please have a relook at all your employment contracts with your employees. And since it's a motor vehicle, the company will not be able to take any credit because it is a specific restriction that motor vehicles may, the tax which is paid on the procurement of the motor vehicle should not be eligible as a credit. What about employee referral policy? A lot of companies like Deloitte, HSBC, they give like 25,000 rupees to an employee for successful referral. There will be no GST because it's towards service in the normal course of employment, on which I am also deducting income tax at the time of payout. As far as notice pay recovery is concerned, it is an issue under the current service tax regime and might continue to remain an issue under the GST regime. However, as it appears, it's a part of the contractual obligation and we can take a view that no GST is applicable. So put it clearly in the employment manual like that. Long service awards. So you complete 10 years in Tata Steel, you get a Sabashi award. After completing 20 years, again you get an award. There is no GST liability because it's part of the official realm of things. Further, income tax is also borne by the employee on such expenses. What about house lease? So company is offering a house lease facility to specific employees. So it takes a flat on rent, pays the rent, security deposit, brokerage, etc. to the landlord and recovers the rent paid through a payroll deduction. Since residential property is specifically exempt from GST, it's a good thing. There is no complication whatsoever. As far as the offsite, so for example, company is taking you to Udaipur or to Bangkok and it puts, let's say, a budget of 18,000 rupees per employee. There is no GST liability because there is no underlying supply. It's part of the usual business, and taxes which are procured on the pay of such goods in relation to a town hall offsite facility should be available as credit to the company, provided it is not restricting such goods or services to specific individuals in the company. Free use of the company's own products, for example, uniforms, shoes, no GST liability because one would very clearly say that it is part of the official use and the company should also be able to take credit on such items. What about the discounted rates at which company sells? So I spoke about the Raymond's example. So Raymond's will or any company will organize a sale at the beginning of every year and say that 5,000 rupees shirt employees can take at, let's say, 2,000 rupees. So the 3000 rupees will be a related party transaction and hence it will be liable to GST. You have to adopt the open market value as the parameter. Free gym, no GST because it's a common facility available to all. That was a rule of thumb. Again, the company can also take a GST credit on procurement of such goods because it's not specifically restricted. Leave support, no GST because there is no supply. For example, sick leave, earned leave, casual leave. Corporate education. So for example, if an employee is going on MBA and company is offering 30% as reimbursement, there will be no GST liability because there is no underlying supply by the company. Please remember that for expenses such as travel expenses, telephone expenses, hotel expenses, you should ensure that the vendor issues the invoice in the name of the company, provides the company's correct GSTIN. Employee should be instructed to provide the clear cut instruction should be there ki boss, this is our GSTIN. When you go to a hotel, mention that on the GSTIN. Issue invoice in the name of the company. Therefore, make systems modifications in this regard. Enter necessary information such as invoice number, invoice date, GSTIN of vendor. So you need to go and collect the GSTIN from the vendor, taxable value and tax amount if you want to claim an reimbursement, and it should be verified at the time of processing of the claims. Thank you so much. Please leave behind any queries in the comment section. Shall be very happy to answer. Did you like it? Did you not like it? What are some other queries that you might have? Please share. Thank you so much.